My name is Henrik Söderlund. I work for Ericsson, so it's a Swedish telecom manufacturer providing telecom equipment to the telecom operators around the globe, such as AT&T, Verizon of the world. My background is from manufacturing and supply chain, so I've been in various industries and various roles. So as an OEM, as contract manufacturer in the automotive industry and so forth. The last 2 years I've been involved in building up a factory in the US that we are establishing here. So during this presentation I'll go through a bit around that, our background to why we are starting a factory in US, and also the smart manufacturing transformation that we're going through, the smart manufacturing use cases that we're implementing. Also cover a bit around our collaboration with Hitachi Vantara. Alrighty. And anytime you have any questions, just jump in and I'll try to address them either straight up or if there are more advanced ones in the end. So first a few words around Ericsson then. So as I mentioned, we're a Swedish telecom company. We are primarily supplying network equipment. So a lot of people connect Ericsson with the phones, but we stopped doing phones 10 years ago. We still do then infrastructure equipment, of course. We're also heavily involved in the digital services and managing the infrastructure and so forth through our managed services. A lot of our new technologies and new business and new areas is covered in our BTAB business area, which is our technologies and new business area. So those are our 4 BAs that we operate inside Ericsson. We are global, so we are active in 180 countries. So most of the telecom operators around the world are our customers or potential customers. About 100,000 employees and 45,000 patents. Fun fact in the patent space is actually that all the Bluetooth stuff that you're using is an Ericsson patent. So thank you for using that. A little bit around our collaboration with Hitachi Vantara. So in our environment, we are, neck to neck in competition in getting 5G radios out there first, right? And that drives a behavior of sort of getting our radios to the market faster, and we have a variant explosion of radios. So we have a lot of radios that quickly needs to get to the market. That, from a production standpoint, poses a challenge. So we have then teamed up with Hitachi Vantara in our Tallinn facility around the proof of concept, where we used Lomada Manufacturing Insights platform to address some of our troubleshooting challenges. Now, let's talk a bit about our factory that we are building in Louisville, just close to Dallas. Why are we building a factory in the US? What's the logic behind that? Well, first of all, we need more capacity globally to meet the demand of 5G radios. US is one of our biggest and most important markets, so that's logical then to establish a factory here from that perspective. Establishing production in a high-cost environment is obviously a challenge. So we, from the get-go, when we decided to establish a greenfield operation in the US, said we are going to be fully automated. We'll go all in. And as I discussed here with some of the Hitachi guys over the lunch, that probably will automate too much and have to scale back a bit, but that's a choice that we made. So all in and then see where that takes us, right? I mentioned the importance of US as a customer base for Ericsson and as one of the main markets. Some of our top 10 clients are for sure here. So being close to them and being able to deliver those fresh out of the oven 5G radios to our customers in a speedy manner is really important. Therefore, being next door to our customers is super important. Now, this is then, as you figure, a volume factory. But it's not only a volume factory. We also want to take this opportunity to establish a showcase. So it's kind of drink your own champagne, right? So we think that 5G has a big role to play in the space of manufacturing. So we really want to implement 5G and smart manufacturing use cases to show what is possible to do with smart manufacturing using 5G. It's also say like sandbox or incubator facility for us in volume, where we are able to build on the experience that we are gaining implementing those smart manufacturing use cases and build onto that bright future of Industry 4.0. As Ericsson is a highly sort of environmentally aware company, we also took upon us to establish a factory that has as little environmental impact as possible. So our aim is to be LEED certified, but also to be carbon neutral. So we are very proud of that. So when you fly in over Dallas, landing on DFW, you can look on the roof where you will see the Ericsson sign made out of solar panels. All right, so I'll pause there on the factory and reason why we're building it. So really exciting. It's not only a volume factory, but it has many aspects of it going into the Industry 4.0. Now, what can 5G then do for manufacturing? This is a busy slide. But we see 4 areas where we group the use cases. So being massive IoT use cases, broadband use cases, mission critical use cases, and industrial automation. So in the massive IoT space, the devices are typically low cost, deployed in high volume. They transmit data not very frequently. So for example, you put out environmental sensors to read information. You'd upload them once per day, not very often, right? So that's one use case. Broadband IoT, well, simply when you use your phone to stream video, that's a broadband application, right? There, the need for large data is high. So the throughput is high, but the latency needs to be predictable. It doesn't need necessarily to be super fast, but it needs to be predictable so you can use your devices in a proper manner. Now, the mission critical IoT use cases, that's where 5G really has a sweet spot. So that's the use cases where you really need that low latency, high availability, right? So for example, remote operations is one example. In the medical space, we usually use the remote surgery as an example. You don't want to have latency if you have a surgeon digging in your heart. So. And then finally, the industrial automation, where you need, it's driven by needs from industrial protocols and also time-sensitive networks. So now, with 4G, you can do the use cases to the left, but in order to do the use cases to the right, you really need that low latency 5G connectivity. So let's talk about the use cases. And, how did we go about? So we are building a greenfield operation. The whole world is open in front of us. We can choose any manufacturing use cases that we want, right? So which one to choose and how did we choose them? So we realized pretty quickly that we did not have the competence to do this entirely on our own. So we brought in a fairly expensive consultancy to assist us, and then we man up with our brightest brains inside the company. We defined an 8-week focused push where we defined the use cases that we wanted to do, right? So we analyzed from a brainstorming perspective, just which ones are out there. We grouped them into various groups based on the ROI, based on how sexy they are, because it's a showcase factory, so we want to have sexy use cases. and some other aspects. Out of that came 73 use cases that we identified. That these are the smart manufacturing use cases that we could implement. Out of those, we choose 34. And out of those 15 that went into the first wave. So how did we come down to the 15 then? Well, one important aspect was actually feasibility. So what is possible technologically to implement today? So in the 73 use cases, there were a bunch of them that, the technology is simply not there yet to do it. And then just to highlight a few of the use cases that we choose. So the blue ones are wave 1, which will be implemented during a 6-month period now, starting from end of last year up to the summer this year. Wave 2, the brown, and wave 3, the pink. So one example is in the maintenance space, where we are implementing augmented reality headset for remote support. So that's also a use case that needs low latency. So if you're going to have a good experience with a supplier that is sitting remotely guiding you what to do, you need that quick transmission of the data. Facilities and support, drones for security rounds. So we are implementing drones to do security rounds around the facility. We did not get permission to put machine guns on them, but it's also from a maintenance perspective, we are in the second wave implementing a smart knowledge database, linking our failures to repair order. That's very similar to the proof of concept that we are working with Hitachi and Vantara on. And then one of the cool ones that we couldn't implement in the beginning is on the far right corner, the hologram for interactive communication. So, in a few years' time, we see that it's actually possible to have meetings with holograms in the room. So if Skype was new yesterday, the holograms will be new tomorrow. And then what did we learn from the process of selecting the smart manufacturing use cases and starting to implement them? So first of all, being a manufacturing guy as I am, the problems that we are trying to solve are not new problems. They are the same problems or similar problems that you guys in manufacturing have been trying to solve for a long time. We're just using new technology to solve them. And I think also, as was mentioned in one of the previous sessions today, the lower fruit has already been picked. So in order to pick the fruit that's hanging slightly higher up in the tree, you need new solutions. Also, one kind of obvious conclusion that we draw is that the IT landscape that we were operating in, I would say IIoT landscape, was not up to par. We needed to evolve that, and it needs to continue to evolve over time. So the factory environment from an IT perspective was not where we wanted it to be. Also, we acknowledge that we are on a journey from a maturity perspective. We are not the most mature company in terms of smart manufacturing use cases and that. So implementing or taking a gradual approach to the implementation is important. So by doing that, we will be able to implement, learn from that, and then take the next step. And then finally, and probably one of the more important things that I would like to home in on today is the ROI. So we found it's difficult to find the ROI to justify a single use case. But if you group them together in 5, 10, 15 use cases, then it's easier. Then you build the infrastructure, and the ROI is then supported by several streams of savings, earnings, and so forth. I don't know, I had 20 minutes. I don't know how much time I used. But that was pretty much what I had. So any questions, any comments? Right. Okay, clear. Thank you.